Hey everyone, so as summer is nearing its end, I know it went by very fast. I know that many students are looking to buy a new MacBook for school, and they would have good reason to because it seems as if MacBooks are more common than a latte at a coffee shop. And right now is actually a great time to buy a MacBook because until September 27th, 2021, if you buy any iPad or Mac for college or university, there will be a slight discount and Apple will throw in a pair of AirPods for free. That's why I'm making this video a bit early so that you have time to make an informed decision. In this video, I'm going to decipher all the mumbo jumbo that Apple will throw at your face and recommend each MacBook for specific types of students. Whether you're trying to submit your assignment the night before it's due or you're doing some intense coding, there's bound to be a MacBook that will suit your needs. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Avery and I create videos about tech and student life on this channel. If at the end of this video you liked what you watched, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel as it really helps me out. It shows your appreciation for these videos and it also makes my relatives very happy. Just for some ground rules, I will be doing this video tier list style from S tier, which is the best, to F tier, which is the worst. I will mainly base my opinions off of how much value that I think a student will get out of each MacBook and consider what tasks can be performed by each one. With that out of the way, we're going to work our way from the cheapest to the most expensive MacBook, starting with the MacBook Air. First up is the 13-inch MacBook Air, and in my humble opinion, this is the best laptop for most students looking to buy a new laptop for school. Heck, I could even go as far as to say that this is the best MacBook for most people, period. This laptop is so simple in that it does literally anything that the average student would want to do in a package that is still very light and portable. It's just a really damn good laptop. The main headline with the MacBook Air is the M1 chip inside, which gives crazy fast performance, all while giving you all-day battery life. The screen is bright, sharp, and vibrant, and the keyboard and the trackpad are good enough. The only caveats that I can mention is that the webcam still sucks and there are only 2 USB-C ports. And although this laptop offers some very good value, it still starts at $1170 Canadian with education discounts, and this is the cheapest Mac that you can buy brand new today. The M1 MacBook Air is honestly just such a good machine that it leaves other laptops in the dust and is probably the best option for most students looking for a MacBook, which is why I'm going to put the MacBook Air into S tier. S for silence. Oh, did I forget to mention that this laptop is fanless? Next is the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 chip. And notice how I said with the M1 chip, because Apple still currently sells 2 versions of the 13-inch MacBook Pro. This one and one with an Intel chip. For this section, I'm just going to focus on this laptop and how it compares to the MacBook Air. In my eyes, the M1 MacBook Pro is essentially an M1 MacBook Air, but with a fan. There are some more differences that I will list soon, but in layman's terms, that is basically what the MacBook Pro is. Here's what you will receive from choosing the M1 MacBook Pro over the Air. Slightly longer battery life, the touch bar, a slightly brighter display, slightly better speakers, a slightly heavier laptop, 8 GPU cores on the base model, and a fan to sustain heavy workloads for longer. Notice how I said the word slightly quite often when mentioning the differences. And in my opinion, those upgrades do not surmount to an extra $400. But by itself, the M1 MacBook Pro is still a fantastic laptop. It's just outshined by the MacBook Air because of the value that you can get out of it, which is why I'm putting the M1 13-inch MacBook Pro into B tier. B for buy the MacBook Air instead and save your money. Next up the price bracket is the 13-inch MacBook Pro, but with Intel. And for this laptop, I'm gonna have to do some explaining. For those who aren't aware, this MacBook Pro differs from the previous MacBooks that I've covered because it uses Intel's processors, not Apple's own chips. For most people, unless your schoolwork requires something with an Intel chip, a MacBook with Apple Silicon inside is a better bet, especially since Apple is starting to transition away from using Intel chips in their Macs over the next couple of years. What makes this 13-inch MacBook Pro even harder to recommend right now is that in a few months in October or November, Apple is rumored to update this MacBook Pro and add their own chips to it, along with many other rumored upgrades that will make the laptop way better. The combination of the inevitability of a refresh, the advancements of Apple's processors, and a steep price tag makes the 13-inch MacBook Pro with Intel really difficult to recommend for the majority of students. Unfortunately, this laptop has to go into F tier. F for I can't wait for the 14-inch MacBook Pro to be announced. Last but certainly not the least expensive is the 16-inch MacBook Pro. And just like the 13-inch MacBook Pro that I just covered, the 16-inch MacBook Pro suffers from the same upgrade dilemma. By itself, the 16-inch MacBook Pro has been an amazing MacBook and has stood the test of time despite being a little more than 2 years old now. It fixed pretty much everything that was wrong with the previous 15-inch MacBook Pro and actually gave you a bit more for your money. Not to say that this laptop is cheap though. The base model with education pricing is still $2,750. And once you add some upgrades, you're looking at $3,000 or more. Again, the combination of an inevitable refresh, Apple Silicon being amazing, and a steep price tag make the 16-inch MacBook Pro hard to recommend to most students. But because Apple doesn't sell an Apple Silicon alternative to this computer yet, I'm gonna put this into C tier. C for a costly creative computer. And that about covers it. Just to recap, you've got 4 options to choose from: the MacBook Air, the M1 13-inch MacBook Pro, the Intel 13-inch MacBook Pro, and the 16-inch MacBook Pro. For most people, if you're just doing everyday tasks like browsing the web, watching videos, or working with office applications, the base model MacBook Air should be great for you. The M1 13-inch MacBook Pro will give you a step up from that, but remember that you will be paying an extra $400. The Intel 13-inch MacBook Pro is honestly really hard to recommend because it's expensive and will probably be refreshed sometime in the near future. The 16-inch MacBook Pro is for students who need the most performance and an Intel Mac, but also be aware that it will probably also be refreshed sometime along with the 13-inch Pro. Also, if MacBooks really aren't your thing and instead you want an iPad for school, be sure to check out my video ranking which iPads are the best for students up here. If you already have a laptop, make sure to check out my other video covering the most important accessories for any laptop out there up here. As always, gently tap the like button, hit the subscribe button, and ring that notification bell to be notified whenever I release a new video. With that being said, I hope this video helped you out in some way, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.